Hi, everyone, and welcome to this very special live edition of The Road to the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks. I'm your co-host, Matthew DeSantis, along with my fellow co-host, Kaylie Shapiro. And Kaylie, what a day, what a week. We have so much ahead. There's so much to talk about, some great Breeders' Cup. There's some great Derby prep races. I'm already all over the place, and the stream just started, but it's so excited to be with you now, and we're going to be covering the prep races at Fairgrounds and the Risen Star and the Rachel Alexandra, as well as overseas in that Saudi Derby. And that's a really fun field I know we've had a chance to dive into lately.
Definitely. I had a really good time diving into that field for the Saudi Derby. I really was just digging into it today and actually looking at some of the horses working over the track. It was really cool to see the American horses over there and how they're all getting over the track, how they look. And I'm excited. I mean, I was sitting here thinking about Saudi Cup Day for the last few hours, and I almost forgot that it's Risen Star and Rachel Alexandra weekend too. So there's great racing all day. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. And it's going to be just, like I said, a wonderful time. So very excited to be talking with you about all of the great racing that we have going on, whether it is in Louisiana or overseas and plenty of places in between. And Jeff Wilson, just want to say good evening to you as well. Drop in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what you're doing tonight, where you're hanging out. We'd love to connect. And we have a lot of great promos as well for our viewers. That's right. If you use the promo code Live20, that's right. Hey, we're going to talk about that fella on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, I'm not talking about myself. We're going to be talking about that horse right there. That's a pretty good-looking horse. But we're going to be giving out a free $20 bet for first-time customers with the promo code Live20. So, again, if you use that promo code Live20, you get a free $20 bet on NYRA Bets if you're a first-time customer. So make sure to use that promo code Live20 today. Kaylie, listen, before we get into all of the great racing that we have ahead of us, also would be remiss if we did not mention the loss of two significant figures today in the sport of horse racing. The first being the 2005 Preakness and Belmont Stakes champion of Fleet Alex. And then news just broke recently that John Sheriffs also has passed away. The trainer passed away last night in his sleep. Very sad. Obviously, we had a chance to be up close and personal with him just as recently as this year with Baeza. And obviously that campaign that he had where he brought Baeza up to Saratoga for the Jim Dandy and the Belmont Stakes. So very sad to hear the passing of two very important figures in our sport, and obviously sending our deepest condolences and best wishes to all of the connections and all the people who love both John Sheriffs and Fleet Alex.
Absolutely. Just want to echo everything that you just said. It was a bit gutted, to hear about a Fleet Alex, and then the news broke about John Sheriffs just shortly after that. So just want to echo everything that you said, and tough day. I mean, that's big news, two very big losses in the sport. So
yeah, absolutely. It really is. So it's very sad, but it also brings us the opportunity to look back on some of their great efforts. And that is something which I do regularly. And so I thought it would be fitting to maybe intersperse some great moments of both the Fleet Alex and John Sheriffs in here. And so I thought I'd share both the call and the moment that really, I don't want to say it single-handedly hooked me on horse racing, but I don't see how you can watch this moment and not just be in awe of the sport of horse racing. And that is, of course, the 2005 Preakness Stakes, where Scrappy T blows the turn.
Up down toward the inside, followed by Sun King. Giacomo's got a lot to do, and less than 3 furlongs to do it. He's 10 lengths behind and caught in some traffic now, and Scrappy T comes away with the lead, but a Fleet Alex is taking a bull run. Oh, Scrappy T blew the turn, and the Fleet Alex Jeffrey Rose almost fell out of the saddle. A dramatic occurrence at the top of the stretch. Here is a Fleet Alex who has come on to take the lead. Scrappy T blew the turn, and he's second on the inside, and it's 5 lengths back. Giacomo will manage only to be third. They're coming down to the finish, and in dramatic style, a Fleet Alex who almost fell at the top of the stretch. has won the Preakness by 5 lengths. Scrappy T was second, and finishing third, I believe, was Giacomo and Sun King. Jeremy Rose, an up-and-coming jockey, had a really anxious moment there at the top of the stretch. He's not anxious now. He is euphoric.
He was indeed euphoric, and that was just one of the more incredible moments to see a Fleet Alex go down to his knees almost and still manage to win the Preakness Stakes. Just absolutely incredible.
Really incredible. And I think that we watched that replay a couple of times in the last year as well. I mean, it's weird. The couple of these replays that we're going to show, Zenyatta, and then that one as well. I mean, I was watching these in the last couple of years for the first time in a while. It's interesting. I mean, obviously just an iconic racehorse, a Fleet Alex.
Absolutely iconic racehorse. We'll share a few more as we go through this live stream, but appreciate everybody tuning in right now, and let us know, like I said, where you're tuning in from, what you're up to, what you're doing, whether you're watching on YouTube or X. Make sure you're hanging out with us tonight as we preview the Risen Star, the Rachel Alexandra, the Saudi Derby. Gonna be a lot of fun. But listen, it's not just about those races. We're going to talk a little Saudi Cup. We'll talk a little bit about that, because I think you and I might be on the opposite sides of the fence on this one, Kaylie.
On the Saudi Cup?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm going to take a chance here. I could look like a fool after, but I really want to see a horse race, I really hope that someone does show up and fight with Forever Young. But I was getting so excited listening to Bob Baffert when he did, his press interview, and he was talking about bringing these two horses over to go up against Forever Young, and just what a fierce competitor Forever Young is, and how it's going to be like Godzilla and King Kong meet when Nysos and him link up, and how he just wants to see his horse run with Forever Young. It's really cool stuff. I mean, it's what the sport is about, and good for him. I mean, he's going over there with an amazing racehorse in Nysos, who probably doesn't get enough credit. Obviously, everyone knows he's a really good horse, but he could be something really special. I hope we see it on Saturday. But obviously, Forever Young, big fan. Can't wait to see him too.
Can't wait to see him too. And by the way, our friend RoboCop here says, on a brighter note, Herd Sovereignty will be in the Whitney this year. That is certainly going to be, it appears to be the target for Sovereignty, who I think a lot of us are waiting to see that potential showdown between him and Forever Young at some point this year. Maybe in this year's Breeders' Cup Classic. We can only keep our fingers crossed and hope that we get that sort of a showdown in November at Keeneland. Or it's actually be October 30 and 31. So it's going to be Halloween. I'm going to dress up as Yoshida Yahagi. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wear one of those hats. I'm going to wear one of Yahagi's hats. I'm going to wear the suits. I'm going to dress up as Yoshida that day. I don't know. I might get in trouble. So I'm going to do it.
Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. You dress up like Baffert, or you dress up like Bill Mott. That'll be good. So we'll do that. But listen, let's dive in. Let's talk a little bit about some of these races. Before we do, just want to remind everybody watching, if you're not playing on NYRA Bets already, we do have a special live promo code. It's live20. It's just for the people watching the live stream right now. It's a free $20 bet. There is no deposit match bonus. Is just a free $20 bet for first-time customers. Use that promo code live20. You get a free $20 bet. You can't beat that deal. It's literally free money. And you just, if you know where to go to the landing page, just go to racing.nyrabets.com/sign-up bonus/live20. Okay, so make sure to use that promo code live20 for that free $20 bet. Kaylie, that's a great deal.
Exactly. You just sign up, free money. You can bet it on the Saudi Cup. You can bet it on Fairgrounds. You can bet it anywhere. So
you can.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can play the pick six at Aqueduct and hit it like I did today.
Definitely. There you go. That's 2 in a week. So definitely everyone needs to follow along with all the tickets going up every day too.
4 out of 5 at Tampa Bay. One of these days I'm going to go 5 out of 5. But I keep getting beat by 2% trainers.
Yeah.
So listen, it's going to be a lot of fun. James is a little interested in Luxor Cafe and Amirat Al-Zaman at 60-1 with Ryan Moore aboard. Listen, any horse with Ryan Moore aboard has a shot. No two ways about that. But we're going to get to that Saudi Derby, but we're going to start first with the Rachel Alexandra. And we're going to dive into this race first, which is the first of the prep races this weekend. And, this is such an interesting race. Going a mile and 16, 50 points are on the line. And first, just how good was Rachel Alexandra? But listen, we're not going to just dwell on that today. But this features a horse who is the half sibling to Pretty Mischievous, who won the Kentucky Oaks a couple of years ago. That's the number 3 Ballerina for Brendan Walsh, Tyler Gaffney on a board. Same connections. And they're bringing it back. And is going to be your pretty strong favorite in this particular spot. Just Singing is a little bit more of a distant second choice at 7-2, followed by Majestical, and then Powered by Family. Ballerina looks tough to beat. Kaylie, I'm interested in your thoughts on her. We've not seen her in a minute since she ran in that goldenrod at Churchill Downs. What are your thoughts on her? What are your thoughts on some of the other horses in this field?
I think that you could try to beat her. Like, I wouldn't think someone's crazy for taking a shot at a horse they really liked at a bigger price, for example. But me personally, I really liked Ballerina here. I mean, I don't want to poke holes in a filly that just because her figures aren't necessarily the strongest or something super impressive. She's a filly that we really haven't seen the best of yet. And I mean, the connections are top tier. Obviously, Godolphin owns this filly as well. And I mean, Brendan Walsh talked pretty highly about her as well. And usually you don't go by trainer comments, but he basically said, she has every right to live up to her, her sister's standards and what her sister did. So it'll be pretty interesting to see her. She is going to have an advantage from a pace perspective because there's not a lot of pace here. So I think she should sit a pretty nice trip. And it's interesting. I definitely think there's a couple in here that are a threat, but I think she might just be a notch better than these, and we'll see her take a step forward on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I think you hit the nail on the head with regards to the pace dynamics, because I think that is a very important point to bring up. When you look at this on Timeform US, it is rated as a cold pace, which tends to favor front runners. And I think a horse that we both are interested in a little bit is the same one that James is interested in here, which is the number 5 Powered by Family. And there is a lot to like about that horse for Cherie DeVaux. I think Cherie's going to have another big day at Fairgrounds. We're going to talk about some of the maiden races that we might actually like a little bit earlier in the card as well. But Ballerina just has such a pace advantage in this particular contest because there is so little pace. I would expect her to be very well positioned early. I wouldn't even be shocked if she breaks well. I could even see Tyler going, let's not screw around. Let's just go straight to the front and take this thing all the way around and not even try to get cute and rate or see what everybody else is doing. If I break clean, I'm going. And that is a dangerous horse. We talked about how productive that goldenrod is historically over the last 5, 6, 7 years in terms of producing Oaks horses, not just horses, but Oaks winners. And then you have a situation where I think you hear Brendan Walsh go on the record and he goes, I don't see any reason why she can't be as good as Pretty Mischievous. That's a pretty high praise to say. And I think that's quite telling. And he said she's gotten bigger and stronger since we last saw her in November at Churchill Downs. I think you've put all those things together and she's going to be really tough to beat. And Powered by Family, she needs to do more than stumble out of the gate. I mean, she needs to put herself in a little bit of a position to make a run. I just think she can't sit dead last the way she has the last couple of her first 2 starts.
Yeah, she definitely can't, but hopefully, she gets off a little bit better. I mean, I don't know what's going to make the difference for Powered by Family. I don't know if she just got off, if she's a slow horse, or if there's something I'm not necessarily picking up, but I hope she gets off a little bit better out of the gate. And she's another filly that I'm pretty interested in. I wasn't jumping to take her on top to try to beat Ballerina, but she is interesting and clearly a deep closer. And the amount of ground that she made up last time at Fairgrounds over a muddy track is certainly pretty impressive, good connections. And she's coming in here, I think, with the best buyer speed figure of anybody else in the race just for her
Yeah.
maiden breaking victory last time out. So that's pretty interesting to me. If I was going to take a shot with anybody else, it would be that filly, but it's hard to take her. I mean, seeing what a deep closer she is and the pace setup that she's going to get. But Ballerina, I'm looking forward to seeing if she's the real deal or not on Saturday, because I think we'll find out. There's some fillies that could give her a little bit of a run for her money, maybe up on the front end, like Love Your Neighbor as well. She's getting blinkers on, which is pretty interesting. She's a filly that already has good speed. Now she's getting blinkers on, so she's going to be forwardly placed too. But I think Ballerina should sit a nice trip.
I think she should as well. And what I would also say is, you know, she has been, in terms of Powered by Family, going back to that for a moment, she has been difficult to load at times. And that could be part of it, just a horse that maybe is not super comfortable in the starting gate. So you think maybe after a few more times, there's that repetition and you just get a little bit more familiar each time. One of the things I will say, and Kaylie, I'm interested in your thoughts. It's something that I pay attention to when I am handicapping and I see a horse that gets off slow repeatedly. One of the things I'll see sometimes is a trainer will go back to a gate work. And what that usually tells me is that they're actually worried about something. And they go, we need to clean something up. The fact that Cherie hasn't gone back to a gate work with Powered by Family tells me it's just the nature of this horse a little bit. They're not going to try to tweak anything. They're not going to try to, they're not taking drastic measures. I actually like to see sometimes when a horse, it's a little bit of an issue at the start and you don't see a trainer overreact and go, okay, well, we got to get stuff cleaned up at the gate. And
exactly. She could just be a deep closer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Powered by Family, though, very nice horse for sure. You mentioned a horse that I'm growing on. I don't know. I debated going crazy and picking her on top. I did not do that. That has the number 6 Powered by Family. Or Love Your Neighbor, I should say. I'm sorry. Number 6, Love Your Neighbor. For Michael Stidham, Louis Saez up on the mount, 6-1 on the morning line. And Love Your Neighbor, the blinkers are coming on. There's not a lot of pace in this race. She has good early speed. Maybe she goes straight to the front. Louis Saez can get aggressive. He's a strong rider. He can get her out there in good position. He's taking over the mount from Axel Concepcion. I think it's notable that you get Louis now coming in and giving this ride. That's a big name, and no disrespect to Axel, but that's a jockey upgrade for this particular spot. And 6-1, again, she's going to be up front. Now, is she going to like a mile and an eighth? We'll see. I don't know. But again, she's going to have a ton of pace advantage in this race. So I ultimately put her second as a horse that I think can kind of hang around. And again, it's a question of, with Powered by Family, one of the things that I was a little worried about first was the last race was with Lasix. So there is, switching back off Lasix now. Though Cherie's numbers are fine in that spot. So it's not as if this is disqualifying. But still, something to make note of. The other is, if you notice, she was entered in a turf race. Well, it got rained off the turf. And they ended up running on the dirt. Okay, fine. Over a muddy track. That's another maybe a little asterisk. And now they're entering her in an Oaks prep. So now wait a second. We went from this horse ran on dirt in debut. Cherie then goes and enters her in a turf race next time out. It goes off the turf. Now we have an Oaks horse. I don't know. I get a little worried about that stuff because it's like, okay, you beat a bunch of turf horses on a muddy track. That's not quite the same as what we're facing today. Again, I'm trying to poke holes, okay? And I understand I should be doing that in a horse like Ballerina, but with a horse like Powered by Family, I have a feeling he's going to take a lot of money from that 9-2 morning line. I think she's going to end up being your second choice. But because of, as you mentioned, that big last out buyer speed figure. So we'll see. She's the biggest X factor in the race by far.
Definitely. And that's what I was saying earlier, what you were saying about love your neighbor. I think she's definitely the biggest threat to Bella Ballerina. I think she has, the best speed in the race outside of Bella Ballerina. She's getting blinkers on, but she's just a filly that doesn't really like to win. And
Yeah.
that's why I wasn't jumping all over her. And maybe I'm a little burned by her because I picked her a couple of times and she always runs second. And I never could come up with an excuse for her. So yeah, going a mile and a 16th, obviously it's not that huge of a difference. Like if she's going to get a mile under the right conditions, she's probably going to be able to get a mile and a 16th under the right conditions. But
Yeah.
she hasn't won whatsoever,
Yeah. No,
facing a
she
little
hasn't.
bit
Maybe that's what the
less.
blinkers,
So
maybe the blinkers help, but we'll see. It's a projection. And I don't think
mhm.
she's going to win, to be clear. I think she's going to continue to have seconditis. Uh, by the way, we got to say hi to people. We got to say hi to our friend Alex. He goes, "Hey, you crazy kids." Hello, Alex. How are you doing, my friend? And by the way, our good friend Billy Ho, who helped us out a little bit last week. And by the way, we got to talk about last week. We got to give somebody some flowers on this program who gave out a $95 exacta. One of us did that, and they're not the one talking right now. I'll tell you that much. So Kaylie gave out a huge exacta last week. We're going to get into that in a second. But Billy, I know, liked Silent Tactic a little bit in that Southwest Stakes. And he
Mhm.
said Bella Ballerina here could get the great setup sitting just off the pace.
Mhm.
I think she's going to improve as well off the break. I think she's really impressive. Robocop agrees. Seconditis for Love Your Neighbor. Absolutely. And, it's going to be fun to see what they actually all do in this race. Jason, happy to be here. Hey, Jason, we're happy you're here. Love all the people in the chat, just trying to keep up with everybody. So make sure to keep dropping in where you're tuning in from, what you're up to tonight. If you're drinking on anything, let us know. And by the way, if anybody's curious, this live stream is brought to you by Diet Mountain Dew. That is our unofficial sponsor of NYRA Bets. If the Pepsi Cola Company, if Mountain Dew, they want to throw a couple bucks my way, they want to throw a couple cases, I can put my address in the chat. You just let me know. We're happy to take sponsorship here. So, Kaylie, it's going to be fun. What are you? You're hanging out in Manhattan. You're hanging out in the city. Or what are you drinking on? Are you drinking just water? You got Coke Zero? What do you got?
Coke Zero.
There you go. That's how NYRA Bets is fueled, through caffeine, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we keep things going. So James gave it out Silent Tactic too. There you go. Some money there. That was a nice horse. A very impressive win in the Southwest. So congrats to everybody who cashed on that. Our good friend Carlos Warren hanging out. I know he's in Culpeper, Virginia. So we're happy to see that. Jason's tuning in from Massachusetts, but he's wearing a Saratoga hat. So he's almost like he's in New York. I love it. So Jason, so happy you're there. Man of the people, the sophistication. Yeah, exactly. Diet Mountain Dew. Yeah, well, listen. It is what it is. I'm kind of a redneck at heart. So I fit in well when Kaylie and I go to Midway, Kentucky. They have a giant Mountain Dew sign outside of the one gas station. That's my home. So love it.
Midway Mart.
Yeah, exactly. The Midway Mart. That's me. Me at the Midway Mart. And listen, let's talk about some more horses in this race. The Rachel Alexandra, we touched on. Bella Ballerina, obviously, we think very highly of. We think very highly of Powered by Neighbor as a horse that Powered by Family, who could have a little bit of a interesting development here in her third career start. Love Your Neighbor, Seconditis. You have a horse, Majestical. I didn't know what to do with this horse. So I want you to talk, because you have this horse third. I'm curious your thoughts on her. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with her. I ended up not having her in my top 4. Maybe that comes back to bite me. I don't know. 4-1 on the morning line for Pete Urton, who's been turning out a lot of live runners. I just wasn't sure what to do.
I have her third, and I feel like I'm still not giving her enough attention. The more I look at her, the more I like her. I might end up, switching around her and Cherie. The more I look at it and the pace and the way I'm going to see it playing out, and maybe the price I'm going to get, you're probably going to get a better price on
I think so
Majestical
too. Yeah.
than
Yeah.
you would on Powered by Family. But
Yeah.
Majestical, I mean, she's a filly that clearly doesn't have problems getting out of the gate, so there's no
No.
problems there. She should sit a nice trip. And like you said, Peter Urton, I mean, he has really good numbers at fairgrounds. This is a good magic filly out of a Malibu Moon mare that
Mhm.
sold for a decent amount, good ownership group, good works. I mean, maybe we're not paying enough attention to this filly the more you think about it. So I like her a bit. I don't know how she's going to stack up against these horses like a Bella Ballerina in here, but I have her in the mix and I'll probably include her on tickets as well. I think she's pretty sneaky.
I think she is sneaky too. By the way, I just want to give a shout out to the 212 It Girl saying she's rooting for Bella Ballerina. That's what she's doing. She's going for the girls here and rooting for the ballerina. I like it. And
Bella
so listen,
Ballerina it is.
yeah, Bella Ballerina it is. I mean, when the 212 It Girl says something, we got to just move on to the next race because that's the bottom line. Um, it is. It's interesting about Majestical because she loses Jose Ortiz, who goes to
Hmm.
Powered by Family, for Cherie. She picks up Ben Curtis, who I've talked to you about before, is very, very sneaky on the front end. When you get Ben Curtis on a horse that's up near the lead, he can be really, really dangerous. We're going to talk about him in the other race too, I think, a little bit. And so the 72 Buyer speed figure wasn't that huge last time out, so she's going to need to get a little faster. I think that was one of the things that discouraged me. That also came with Lasix. Now we're switching back off Lasix. It's notable to say that she actually outfinished Powered by Family in debut. She finished second in that initial race, in her debut race, and Powered by Family finished a little further back, I think fourth or fifth, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's interesting that she's run against her, and she kind of had the same issue that Powered by Family did in debut. She got off really slow, but then last time out, you saw that much better skate speed. You saw a much more professional effort out of her. I like the work. I saw that February 1st bullet work. I thought, gee, she's working nice. You mentioned the pedigree. That good magic out of a Malibu Moon mare should have no issues with distance. Obviously, won easily going a mile and a 16th to break her maiden. So there's a lot to like there on a horse that I agree with. I think is going to float up a little bit from that 4-1. I'd be shocked if I think she's 5-1, 6-1 come post time, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I saw her at as well. So I definitely think she's a major player in here. I do think Bella Ballerina might win this easily. And then there's going to be a second group of fillies, maybe a little bit behind her that are
Yeah.
also pretty good. But I just hope we see something big from Bella Ballerina because the other fillies that we've seen run back in these last preps, I mean, they're moving forward. So she has to take a step forward on Saturday and,
Yeah.
see where she stacks up with the main players on the Oaks Trail. So I'm excited to see her. She should set a nice trip just
Yeah.
off the hip of maybe Love Your Neighbor is what I thought.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be interesting. Pam, by the way, checking in from Nebraska. Hello, Pam from the Cornhusker State. She likes Bella Ballerina Powered by Family. Listen, that's where I think, both of us see Bella Ballerina as clearly the horse to beat. Hard one to get around in this particular spot because of the pace dynamics. Try to get a little creative underneath. But I'm interested, Kaylie. We saw a couple of horses last weekend, Zanny and Meaning, who you and I both are very, very high on. No disrespect to Search Party, who ran a very nice race in the Martha Washington as well, who, by the way, we both gave out. That was a good race. And that was the race where you gave out Newtown Pike. Newtown Pike, not just your favorite road in Kentucky, also maybe your new favorite horse to finish second because you gave out the Ice Cold Exacta for $95. That's pretty good. But nevertheless, it's interesting. We saw Zanny and Meaning put on a show. If Bella Ballerina comes out and wins this race by, I'm just going to say it, 3 lengths, does she vault to the top of your rankings? I mean, I'm interested in this. Like, if she puts on an impressive effort, do you go, okay, maybe this is the filly that we all have to be watching out for?
no, because I like a filly that's only broken her maiden so far is
You
who
like
I
that
really
Baffert
like
filly
is
out west.
I really like that Baffert filly
Yeah.
out on the West Coast. It's a Charlatan filly. I'm blanking on her name.
Yeah.
But I really like her a lot. It would just really depend. I mean, how she does it,
Yeah.
what the figure comes back looking like. But that's why I'm saying to me, she needs to take a step forward here because I have her on my list, but
Yeah.
she's going to get passed soon if she doesn't. And I mean, she comes from a big family, and you really want to root for that, you know?
Absolutely, you do. And listen, it's going to be a fun race. Like I said, Kaylee and I both see Bella Ballerina as being the top horse in this field. We're going to move on and talk about the Risen Star next. But before we do, want to encourage everybody, if you're not already playing on NYRA Bets, make sure to start playing today. Because if you're a first-time customer, we have a special promo code just for you, just for everybody listening to this live stream. Use the promo code LIVE20. If you use that promo code LIVE20, you get a free $20 bet. You can use it however you like. Use it however you like. We give you all the autonomy in the world at NYRA Bets. You can use it however you'd like, wherever you'd like. So use that promo code LIVE20. Again, that's just for everybody listening to the live stream right now. If you're not playing on NYRA Bets already, you can use that promo code LIVE20 today. So make sure to do that. And before we transition, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, for folks who are tuning in late, we lost two very important figures in our sport. Fleet Alex passes away earlier today. And then very sad news that Hall of Fame trainer John Sheriff passes away as well. It's so sad to see the passing of John Sheriff, who, of course, was just recently in the news with Baeza last year on the Triple Crown Trail and in the Breeders' Cup. And so devastated to see the loss of both of those. But I thought, when you think John Sheriff's, I think one horse. And no disrespect to Giacomo, I think of the Big Z. That's Zenyatta. And listen, I'm going to let Trevor Denman do the rest of the work.
Richard's kid, and now here's Zenyatta, and let's see. Zenyatta has a lot of ground to make up. Zenyatta, if she wins this, she'll be a super horse. She's starting to pick them off, though. Zenyatta going to hook to the outside. Meanwhile, it's Colonel John Summerbird in the red cap. And Zenyatta's come to the outside. Zenyatta coming flying on the grandstand side. Gio Ponti on the inside. Summerbird is right there. This is unbelievable. Zenyatta, what a performance, one we'll never forget. Looked impossible, but it is Zenyatta, still unbeaten under Mike Smith. Gio Ponti second.
I mean, just what a moment. What a moment.
And no one understands, you know, how hard it is to have that record that Zenyatta had in her racing career. I mean, you don't see that. So,
No.
I mean, she's so special and just one of those horses that really made me fall in love with racing personally.
Absolutely. Let's see. Carlos is going to start a war in the chat, by the way. Carlos has
Let's not
Carlos
go
has
too
chosen
far.
violence. Carlos,
With all
Kaylee
due
might drop off the
respect.
live stream and join the chat and just start firing away, go back and forth. But listen, I mean, that was unbelievable. I remember watching, and Kaylee, you're probably too young. Maybe you were not watching this. I don't know. I remember when 60 Minutes 60 Minutes is a big deal. I remember when 60 Minutes did a special on John Sheriff's and Zenyatta, and that was like incredible. And it was just like, oh, this horse is a superstar and like a mainstream. It was yeah. I rewatch that special sometimes. I rewatch that race regularly. I start crying. I get emotional. And then next thing you know, I'm watching 15 other races. A is for Awesome. A is for Arrogate. Who knows where we end up after all of that. But yeah, obviously, fortunately, somebody like John Sheriff leaves an amazing legacy behind and so many wonderful moments that we can look back on and take great pride and great joy from. And I think that's really the sign of a wonderful trainer, a wonderful man. So, it is truly one of those moments, but I wanted to share that in between us diving into some of the different races. Carlos is really going for, choosing violence tonight. In terms of giving some shots at Rachel. Rachel wasn't on 60 Minutes, he said. So
That's funny. That's really funny.
It was really funny. So listen, absolutely incredible horse. And we'll share some more moments from both the career of Fleet Alex a little bit later on. But listen, let's dive into the Risen Star. Oh boy, Kaylee, this is a fun race. We're going 1.8 miles for only the second time on the prep trail. The first time was in the Remsen back back in 2025. Remember that year, 2020? It feels like it ages ago. Back last year in the juvenile race, they go 1.125 in New York for the Remsen, but all the other races have been a mile or 1.16 miles. Now we're going back to the 1.125 miles, stretching out. Your morning line favorite is the number 4 Paladin, who won the aforementioned Remsen going 1.125 miles. 50 points are on the line. Kaylie, are we getting cute, or are we supporting the horse I have ranked as number 1 on my Kentucky Derby list?
Well, I wasn't even going to get cute if I did play against him. I was just going to end up picking a horse that's 3-1 that I'm kind of annoyed at myself that I didn't pick. You know, I really like Golden Tempo
It's not too
a
late. I
lot.
could edit it. I could
No,
edit it.
but
I could change it.
just because I picked it in the order of how I see it coming, the race, just how I see it playing out.
Yeah.
But it's an exciting race in general because there's a couple of horses in here that I really want to bet on at the prices that they're at. Like, for example, Courting, definitely want to put a bet on that horse if he's, you know, a decent price come post time, even though Paladin's probably going to beat him. You know, so it's an interesting race in that way. I think Paladin, he was a man amongst boys when we saw him in the Remsen. And Golden Tempo is a horse that I've been high on since, I mean, the beginning of, I think, you know, the day he made his debut, basically. But I've been waiting for him to stretch out to 1.125 miles distance because he just has a phenomenal pedigree. But I think Paladin's the real deal. And I think that he's a more tactical, mature version of Sierra Leone, which is a pretty scary thought for all these other horses. And the more I looked at him, pictures of him, videos of him, I was like, I mean, he's a really, really nice horse. And Golden Tempo is too. You know, it's not an immediate that Paladin runs away with this or anything, but he is clearly the horse to beat. I don't think you're even going to get 8-5 on him. He's really tough to beat in here, Paladin.
He is really tough to beat in here. I agree with you. I'm obviously very biased. I like this horse a lot. You and I both had circled this horse for a while. And, you know, so impressive. We have a graphic up on NYRA Bets X right now if people want to go and check that out. Sierra Leone 2.0. I mean, the similarities are stunning, Kaylie, from the standpoint of this is basically the same ownership group, sired by Gunrunner, cost a pretty penny at the sales. Paladin cost 1.9 million. Sierra Leone cost 2.3 million. Hello, their expectations. Trained by Chad Brown. You got both horses debuting going a mile at Aqueduct. They both ran in the Remsen in their second start, and now they're both going to the Risen Star in their third start. He's proven at the distance, as RoboCop points out, which is everybody else's projection. I know how Paladin's going to run at 9 furlongs. I don't know how everybody else is going to run at 9 furlongs. He's a good-looking horse. You know, he's a nicely built horse. He's well-balanced. He's not the biggest horse, but he's well-balanced. He's put together. He's plenty big, but I just think, and he's tactical. That's the one difference between him and Sierra Leone. He's not this deep closer that needs a pace meltdown. So I just think he is so much the horse to beat in this race. And I agree with you. I don't think you're going to, I think he's at 4-5. I think he goes off odds on in all likelihood.
That's what I see too. Maybe even less than even money, I would imagine 4-5. I think he goes off at, but in hindsight, we can look and be like, well, he should have been 4-5. You know what I mean? Based on the way that he runs. I remember the day that he came to Aqueduct, going out to see him and thinking from that second that horse looked like a 3-year-old. And this was way before the Remsen. I think it was when he debuted.
Broke his maiden. He did when he debuted, and he finished second in Renegade, but then got put up to first because of the DQ.
Yes, it was that day, and he looked 3 years old. On that day, so I'm really excited to see him hit the track on Saturday. Like I said, I really like Golden Tempo. I think there's literally no reason to think that it's an absolute that Paladin just runs away with this. Golden Tempo was a legitimate horse with a really good pedigree that suits 1.125 miles and further. So that's a horse that I have a lot of interest in too. I just wasn't going to get Paladin right now is at a further point and also is not going to be compromised by any sort of lack of pace, should sit a really nice trip. Golden
Yeah.
Tempo might not get the best trip that he needs, and that could get him beat, or it's that, he isn't caught up to Paladin yet. So we'll
Yeah.
see on Saturday. I didn't want to try to beat Paladin for a horse that's just 3-1. So I think he's the best horse in the race right now.
I think he is too. It's interesting. There's a couple of points that are being made in the chat that I want to get your opinion on, and I'm interested in responding to as well. Billy brings up how many of these horses are fully cranked versus building up towards the next prep race. Paladin, not exactly Sierra Leone, as he won't be that far back in the stretch. Yes, the running styles are very different between these two. Actually, the running styles for Sierra Leone is much more comparable to Golden Tempo, who's going to be coming from all the way in the back. But I thought he brings up a good point in terms of how many of these horses are fully cranked versus being ready for the next prep race. I have to imagine, and I saw somebody bring this point up online where they said, well, Paladin's not going to be at 100%. I don't know how many of these horses are really going to be cranked at 100% to win the Risen Star. I mean, they're on the Derby trail. Your goal is not to peak in February. Your goal is to peak in May. And so, yes, certain horses might be different levels of fitness based upon layoffs, regular running, etc.
And every horse is different.
Yes, every horse is different. Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know personally about what the trainers have said about these horses. I'd imagine, Cherie is just never a horse that ever rushes horses along, like literally whatsoever. And that's why I always take note when they are good early on. So that's another thing with Golden Tempo. That horse was never cranked to do anything, or never even probably 95% fit to do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what he looks like. I'd imagine Paladin's ready. Whoever wins this race automatically basically has a spot in the starting gate. So it's a big deal. I do think that the horse that's probably the most interesting in here that we haven't talked about yet is the number 7 Courting. I'm really interested to see him. They're putting blinkers on, and the word is he's a different horse with the blinkers. So I'm curious to see what plays out on the track with him.
Going to be very curious to see that. And let's talk a little bit about Courting, because he is a huge price tag as well. He's the biggest price tag in the race. $5 million, son of Curlin. He is the full sibling to 4-time Grade 1 winner Malathat. Or I always say that. It's Clairiere. And I like Clairiere more than Malathat, but I keep calling him the full sibling to Malathat. But a 4-time Grade 1 winner Clairiere. And he didn't run great in debut. Goes next time out, goes gate to wire. Then they put him in the Remsen, gets off slow, passes a bunch of horses late to finish 4th. Now that Remsen's come back kind of interesting. Paladin obviously won. We're going to see him run in this race. Renegade finished 2nd. He wins the Sam F. Davis. Balboa kind of disappointed in the Jerome next time out. Ran such a nice race in that Remsen. You thought, he was going to win the Jerome pretty easy. Got beat by My World, who we're actually going to talk about in the Saudi Derby here in a second. A horse like Grittiness came back and ran a nothing race in the Withers. Mm-hmm. But then you had a horse like Igniter for Babe Dutrow cut back and just won the other day at Aqueduct real impressively. So, you've seen some horses come out of that Remsen and run pretty well. It's interesting. Courting now gets the blinkers on, and you got Johnny V aboard. Speed. Do you have that intentionality of going straight to the front, breaking from the outside post position? Going to be able to, play the break, get out there in a good position, keep that horse in the clear, and maybe finally takes a step forward, because there's tons of expectations with this one. Just a matter of whether or not, he's going to be able to do the sort of running that his full sister did.
Definitely has some pretty high expectations with Clairiere being your full sibling, but Courting, I think, he's a horse that always looked like he was going to be a little bit later developing. You'd think so from his pedigree, but certainly when he was out on the track, it just looked like the light bulb never went off for the horse yet. And when you're looking at his works, it sort of looks like it did over the winter and maybe the last time that we've seen him. So I think the blinkers coming on is pretty interesting. And if he's just in touch with the field, and, stays pretty close, I think he has a legit shot, and I think he's going to be really good value if he hangs around 6-1, 5-1. I don't think that he's good value anything lower than that. I'll still have him in the mix, but I'll take a shot with him at 5-6-1, just because it's Todd Pletcher, Johnny V, and a horse that clearly has, been working towards this for some time now, and ends up here for a reason and sort of has to prove something on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of put up or shut up time with a horse like this. It's like, all right, are we a stakes level horse at this point? Or, and listen, I could imagine a world in which if Courting does not run well on Saturday, I could see a world where Todd puts this horse on the bench for a couple months, maybe. And then they come back after the Triple Crown trail's over, maybe in something like the Peter Pan, maybe in something, a little bit later, gearing more towards the summer, the Jim Dandy, and looking forward to races like that. It's going to be interesting because I agree with you. I think 5-1, 6-1 or higher is a good price. The good news is I think Paladin's going to take a ton of money. I think Golden Tempo is going to take a lot of money. So I think those two are going to attract a lot of attention. Courting hopefully can maintain at least that morning line price. By the way, I want to address a couple of things because the chat's blowing up. August Fort says, if Paladin wins, will his futures be by the end of the weekend? If he wins, he's going to open as your Kentucky Derby future pool number 4 favorite on Friday at 8-1. Kaylie, if he wins the Risen Star, and he wins by a length or two, he wins pretty easy. He puts on he does what we think he's going to do. Does he drop down to as low as 4-1, you think, by the end of the weekend? It's possible.
Oh, I think lower.
Yeah.
If he's 8-1 on the morning line, those Derby future odds, they change so dramatically. It's like insane. Yeah. You can't place, you'll plan in the morning, the day that that the pool's closing, and you're like looking at the odds and like, oh, so-and-so's good value. And then you'll go to bet it and the horse is 3-1, 4-1 at that point. You might as well just wait to get better odds if the horse makes it to the Derby. But if Paladin is around 4-1, I mean, I hope so. If he has a big performance on Saturday, that we can get that. I'll be curious to see. There's a few other horses that have taken steps forward, though. Maybe that'll help attract some other money.
I'm interested to see what Renegade's price is going to be in the Derby pool. That's an interesting horse who won the Sam F. Davis. Interested in a few others. Interested in some of those horses that are still made. Chief Wallaby. Obviously, we want to see what price that horse is. We want to see what price a horse like Canaletto for Chad. Maybe that's an interesting horse. Never know. We'll see. So still a lot to Jackson Hole. What price you're going to get on Jackson Hole? That's a Pletcher horse that could be pretty interesting in the Fountain of Youth. So listen, there's a lot of good stuff with the Derby futures. RoboCop brings up a point. Now he has a double negative here, so I'm not sure if he meant to do this or not, or I'd say he or she, but I think he. I don't think not having Pratt on is going to be a factor. I don't know if that means he thinks Pratt being off is going to be a factor or not. But
he thinks it's not going to be a factor.
Right. It's not going to be a factor. But it's interesting because
that Pratt is over. Just that good.
I think he's that good too. And it's worth noting Tyler Gaffleone rode Sierra Leone to victory in the Risen Star 2 years ago. So, the gang's back together.
Definitely. I mean, he just won the Pegasus World Cup too. So he's, I think it'll be all good. And I'm really excited to see Golden Tempo and Paladin go head to head. And I'm excited to see what we see from Courting. And Universe is another horse. I mean, I'm not interested in him at all, but why does Kenny have him in here? Isn't that interesting to you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting to me. I saw somebody made a comment today. They said, Universe has always been Kenny's Derby horse. And I thought to myself at that moment where you and I went to visit Kenny's barn over the summer in Saratoga, and he had a group of people and they were all there to see the Queen, Torpedo Anna. But then he goes, y'all want to see next year's Kentucky Derby winner? And he brought out Universe and paraded Universe around. Now, some of that's Kenny being a showman. But I do think he really was high on this horse, and he still is high on this horse. Problem is the horse ran a nothing race last time out. Now we're going longer. I don't know. That horse
I
needs to
don't
take a
think
big step forward.
I mean, he must have some plan or something that he
Clearly.
is
Yeah.
trying with the horse here, because that's Kenny. He's not going to come in here and be like, "All right, let's just try it again."
Yeah.
Like something probably is changing with this horse and their strategy for him to even end up here. That's why I'm
The
I'm
blinkers
really
are coming on.
curious.
You're getting
Yeah,
an equipment
but
change. The blinkers are coming on, and maybe we see more speed on the inside.
yeah, well, I just think I don't know if the horse has maybe taken a step forward training since we
Yeah.
last saw him. It's hard to make out
Possible,
of
yeah.
it, but just interesting that he ends up in a spot like this. I don't think, Kenny wouldn't have him here if he wasn't going to not at least show up. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
By the way, I want to give a shout out to the guys that are on the wrong lead. We love those guys. Josh Rodriguez, Mark Capitan, Caleb Knight, the whole 9 yards, Andrew Champagne from time to time. They're going to have a live stream that's going to be kicking off shortly. So if you're interested in, I'd imagine they're going to be looking at the Fairgrounds card, maybe a little Saudi Cup as well. But they're great guys. Make sure to give them a follow on X and YouTube as well on wrong_lead on the wrong lead. So make sure to check their stuff out. But interesting, we see my guy Siggy Mendoza saying he's making the case for Chip Honcho. Chip Honcho is an interesting horse. Again, another one that really it's kind of put up or shut up time with Chip Honcho, because 4 career starts, he's basically run the same race every single time out. The blinkers are coming off. Maybe that helps him get a little bit more alert out there and kind of pay attention to where everybody else is. Maybe it helps him relax a little bit more in the early going of the race. I'm not sure. This is a horse with great early speed, but it draws a little further outside, so should be in a good position for Steve Asmussen. Luis Saez taking over the mount from Paco Lopez, who we should note, Paco Lopez, broken foot, is going to be out for the remainder of the Fairgrounds meet. So, and if you see Paco Lopez on any of the past performances on Saturday at Fairgrounds, he's going to be off those mounts. There's going to be a replacement jockey on those riders. So just make note of that. Not in this race necessarily, but in some of the other races, I noted that already. But listen, Chip Honcho, can this horse take a step forward? This is a little bit like Universe, a horse that kind of runs the same race, and now we need to see something else out of this runner.
I think he's better than Universe, to be honest.
I think he's better than
with
Universe
you.
too. I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
This horse has done nothing wrong. I mean, first start, ran second on debut, then he broke his maiden. Then after that, I mean, and he's been running up against horses that we've seen improve as well. I mean, in the Lecomte, he probably got the worst trip out of anyone. He was hung wide, and
Yeah.
I thought that he ran well considering that. So he's one that I have in the mix. I'm pretty sure in my top 4 as well, at least 4th. But he, to me, is, I mean, he's not scary. Paladin, I think, is just a way better horse, and I think Golden Tempo could be really good. Courting, I mean, I'm not saying that
Yeah.
he's going to upset. He's a win contender here, but he was impacted by the trip that he got in the Lecomte, I thought.
Absolutely. Somebody brings up Chip Honcho for the win. Asmussen, just like Magnitude did last year. Remember, Magnitude was a huge price in that Risen Star. Hadn't really run well prior to that, and then ran an absolute hole in the win that day and kind of put everybody on notice for about 36 hours until he was taken off the Derby trail. But he ran that huge 102, 101 buyer speed figure that was just blew everybody else's numbers out of the water last year. So you never know. That was with Ben Curtis aboard that day. Now we get Luis Saez taking over for Paco Lopez. Again, you'd like to see Louis up on any mount. So that's always been a lot of fun to see. And also just Joe here giving me a little bit of a shout out and just wanted to say thank you for that. Appreciate you. And he's been watching for a long time since I had my own podcast well back before the NYRA Bets days. So really appreciate the kind words. Cash a few win bets because of me over the years. That's very good to see. We love that. And last week, Kaylie, we did pretty well. We gave the folks search party in the Martha Washington. We gave the folks meaning in the Las Virgenes. You tried to be a little cute and try to beat Zanny. I didn't try to be cute at all. But nobody made a lot of money in that race either way, one way or the other. But then you gave out that $95 exacta that paid for everybody's drinks for the whole weekend. So that was, we did pretty well. And then we made the argument for silent tactics. So we were seeing the ball pretty well last weekend.
I thought so. I didn't like silent tactic really as much as everybody else, but I mean, he was interesting at 20-1 and he upset the entire thing. You know, when you
What did
saw
you
that
tell
horse
me?
coming.
What did you tell me after that race? You go, oh, shoot, I forgot to include him on my ticket because you made a good case during the live stream and then I forgot to include him.
Well, I said it that you made a really good case for him,
Yeah.
that I was really considering like putting him on my ticket.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Ah,
So I think he was
ah.
like 12-1, right? Something like
I
that.
think by post time he was 12-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
So listen,
Nice
interesting race.
horse.
By the way, somebody, and I can't find it going back, but somebody brought up Quality Mischief, the number 8, as a little bit of an interesting horse, going from Mario Pedroza Jr. to Florent Giroux. Flo actually coming back to ride a Brad Cox horse in this spot, which is kind of interesting. This is another one that was very wide in that last time out race in the Lecomte. Ran a decent fourth in the Gun Runner behind Chip Honcho and a few others. Going to be interesting to see what this one does. It doesn't have great early speed. Is probably going to be sitting a little bit more mid-pack. Again, I don't know how much speed there really is in this race. And I guess one of the horses that I do want to talk a little bit about that's gotten overlooked is the number 3 Carson Street, who I actually kind of like a little bit. And ran, I thought, a really big race at big odds last time out. Would need to step forward and would need to be able to get the mile and an eighth distance. The female family has a little bit more sprint in it, so I am a little worried about that. But again, Brendan Walsh putting this horse in this spot. Ben Curtis maybe gets aggressive, puts him up on the front end. And I don't know, at 8-1, that horse is at least a little interesting to throw in underneath in your verticals, right?
I mean, yeah, I think the whole field at this point that we've called out, besides maybe the 6, I mean, everyone in here is a bit interesting. If you look past Paladin, really, if you just look past Paladin, the rest of the field is, I mean, in Golden Tempo, in my opinion, then the rest of the field is pretty evenly matched. I think Chip Honcho could be a good horse, and I think he is getting a big rider upgrade as well. The horse you bring up is good. I didn't like him too much going into the Lecomte, Quality Mischief, so I don't really like him too much going into this either. I would have liked to see him draw a little bit. I mean, at least not to the far out. He doesn't have the best speed. I don't know really the trip he's going to sit, but it's a field of interesting horses. If you look past, your top 2, you could get a price. So
you really can if you try to get past your top 2. And Kaylie, this gets me. I'm going to ask you a question here about Golden Tempo, because here's the thing about Golden Tempo is the figures don't match up with the visuals. What I mean by that is when we watch Golden Tempo's debut and when we watch Golden Tempo win the Lecomte, visually, incredibly impressive efforts. I mean, to close the way this horse did and 6 furlongs in debut was stunning. And then to close the way he did in the Lecomte, incredibly impressive. Yet, rather pedestrian buyer speed figures, 78-81, nothing that really blows your skirt up. And it's just so interesting because there does seem to be this dichotomy between what we see on the track and what we see this horse do, and then we're given an arbitrary number after the fact and going, well, this horse ran an 81. You go, well, geez, that seemed a lot more impressive than an 81, but maybe it wasn't a fast race. I think it is a challenge for handicappers to reconcile that sometimes.
I mean, definitely. Me personally, I obviously use a lot of different figures and I look at the numbers and I put a lot of weight into numbers, but I don't think that they're everything. And I think in a lot of cases, especially with young horses, they're certainly not everything whatsoever. Sometimes you'll see a horse that just looks like, he really hasn't exerted himself whatsoever, or he crosses the wire under wraps, anything like that, and it comes back as an 81. And that's what I mean by it's so much more visually impressive than what we saw on paper. And I think Golden Tempo just physically is a really nice horse. He has a great pedigree. I think that he's going to love stretching out. He has a big stride. I like that horse, but so does Paladin. I mean, Paladin, I want to see I don't know who's nicer. I think, Paladin is a really impressive horse. Like, I remember saying, oh, that horse is going to win the Derby just when he stepped out for his debut.
Yeah.
Just, making a joke because he's just that good looking. So
he is. He is a good-looking horse, and listen, I'm thrilled that I managed to get this far into the live stream and not mention the fact that I am a Furman University graduate, because the Furman University mascot, the Paladins, come on. I mean, come on. One time for Furman. Let's go. I love this horse. I saw this horse on the past performances for his debut, and I said, oh my God, I love this horse. Come on, Paladin. I mean, that's such an unusual name, and I understand, sired by Gun Runner. I know the old Western show, Have Gun Will Travel. I get it. And so it's a very smart name, but as a Furman University graduate, I was also very excited to see Paladin in the national consciousness. And so I get very, very excited about this. And I always have to remind people the great Furman University chant, F you one time, F you two times, F you all the time. A very PG-13 chant for a Southern Baptist institution. Anyway, Kaylie, there's some other big races at Fairgrounds on Saturday. There's a couple of maiden races early in the card.
Yeah, I didn't dive
got a couple of
too
horses.
deep into them, but I mean, just looking at the pedigree so far, there's a couple maiden races on Saturday.
Yeah.
I think race 2 has a lot of nice pedigrees in there. So
Yes.
Pipeline,
And race 2
right?
has
The half to Pipeline is debuting.
Yes, you got the half to Pipeline in there. Yeah, for Cherie, which is interesting because Cherie, of course, took over that horse from Chad Brown, and so she had Pipeline towards the end of his career. Got a couple of wins out of him, if I'm not mistaken. And then you also have Mojakar in that race, who you and I both want to bet back from that debut race, because that was the horse that just blew it out of the gate, and the race was over before it started, but he ran on for third. I think that horse is, if you get 9-2, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's a nice horse. So there's a couple of nice maiden races on the card there. But listen, we're going to talk about a little Middle East action, and we're going to talk about the Saudi Derby. But before we do, want to encourage people, if you're not playing on NYRA Bets already, use the promo code LIVE20. If you use the promo code LIVE20, you get a free $20 bet for first-time customers with NYRA Bets. So use that promo code LIVE20 today. And if you're wondering, how do I go and do that? Well, pretty easy. Just go to racing.nyrabets.com/signup-bonus/live20. If you do that, you're going to get your free $20 bet for first-time customers. You can use the $20 bet however you'd like. It's a great promotion, and it's only for you guys. That's right. It's only for you guys that are watching right now the live stream. It's good until Saturday at post time, so make sure to use this promo code LIVE20 to get signed up and get your $20 free bet on NYRA Bets. So make sure to do that today. Kaylie, I'm going to show one last highlight because of the Fleet Alex news, obviously passing away earlier today, age 24, if I'm not mistaken. Very sad, but obviously he won a couple of races at NYRA. He won the Hopeful, he won the Sanford as a juvenile, and then he came back, won the Preakness, obviously, and then another great call by the legend Tom Durkin as he wins the third jewel in the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes.
There goes Giacomo. Giacomo rallying on the outside and rallying boldly. Indy Storm is following him. A Fleet Alex. Jeremy Rose is yet to make a move on him. He's still 5 lengths from the lead, and he's running on strongly. And now the field approaching the top of the stretch. Giacomo on the outside is the leader as the field turns for home. But here comes the Preakness winner, a Fleet Alex on his outside. And Southern Africa battles on at the rail. And a Fleet Alex just ran right by Giacomo like he was standing still. A Fleet Alex opening up with a tremendous burst of energy. He's 5 lengths clear at the 8th pole. Andromeda's Hero is now moving to second. Southern Africa third. Giacomo is faded. Nolan's Cat. A compelling, outstanding performance by the plucky of Fleet Alex. He won by 6 or 7.
Pretty impressive. Pretty incredible effort there from a Fleet Alex. It just, ran by him like he was standing still. So rest in peace to a Fleet Alex. And of course, the amazing symmetry of today is that Giacomo, who of course beat a Fleet Alex in the Preakness, or in the Kentucky Derby, lost to him in the Preakness and the Belmont Stakes, was trained by now the late John Sheriffs, who passed away today as well. So even that Triple Crown duel had the connection to John Sheriffs, who again very sadly passed away today. But something, these horses, these people, they give us amazing memories that are going to live on well beyond all of us. And so for that, we're very, very thankful. But listen, let's dive into the Saudi Derby, because this is kind of an interesting race, Kaylie.
I thought it was a very interesting race.
I think so. And your morning line favorite is a horse we saw at Aqueduct. Aqueduct to Riyadh. Not the most common route to get to Louisville, but My World, who won the Jerome very nicely over Balboa in that race. He's your 5-2 morning line favorite for Brad Cox. And somebody pointed out Brad Cox has been a little cold on the Derby trail to this point, but he is your morning line favorite. But there's a lot of nice runners in this race. Obliteration, I think, is a really interesting horse for Steve Asmussen. I think you could look at a horse like Satona Voyage, who we're going to talk about. Harem, a lot of nice horses in this race.
I think it's so interesting, the amount of American horses, North American horses that end up in this race.
Yeah,
and that makes it even more interesting to handicap. You can't control if, for example, a horse like My World, who has never been over to the Middle East, obviously, just doesn't like it. And, I was listening to Bob Baffert, and that's not the case, obviously, with everyone. You can't handicap like that. The horse obviously is getting over the track nicely. He looks really good, but you really never know how they're going to handle it on race day. And I was listening to Bob Baffert talking about that with his different horses. Like, for example, McKinsey, he brought him over. He thought that, he was going to love it. He hated it. He didn't even pick up his feet. This one, the gate is a big thing. So there's a lot of different factors. And for that reason, I didn't take, the morning line favorite in a race like this, although he is a tough competitor and, you want to root for him. He won the Jerome and is coming out of Aqueduct. So obviously
But listen, it is. So before we show the picks, we have to say something, because I have to give this lecture every year, and it is the difference between the saddle pad and the post position. So what you see up on the screen right now are their post positions. This is where they will be breaking from on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. in the Saudi Derby. Okay, so get your breakfast, get your ham and eggs, get your oatmeal, get your protein bar, get your coffee, get your mimosa, whatever you kick off your Saturday with, get your drink, turn on NYRA Bets, start firing away with the Saudi Derby. But 9 a.m. So that's their post positions. Their saddle cloth is something entirely different. Their saddle pad is something different. That is determined by alphabetical order. So their post position and their saddle number are two different things. Listen, in the United States, we refuse to adopt the metric system. I don't understand why the rest of the world does this to us. Maybe it says payback for not doing the metric system. I don't know. But it always causes confusion, because ultimately our selections are based upon the saddle numbers, which is what you see on your DRF form. Okay. So just be aware of that. So Kaylie's top choice is Obliteration. That is, yes, Obliteration is breaking from post 8, but is number 7 on your programs. Okay. So just keep these things in mind. We'll try to call them out as we get there. But this is, like I said, a very interesting race. A lot of North American horses. I was actually really surprised by the sheer number of North American runners that are making the trip over. And Obliteration, is I think a really cool horse at a big price, 8-1. I have this horse second. I like Obliteration quite a bit in this race. You're stretching out certainly to a mile, but that 1-turn mile, there's nothing that says he can't do that at all. I think he makes a lot of sense.
He makes a ton of sense. I love him here. And Steve Asmussen, obviously, great trainer, is bringing him over here. I was excited that he was 8-1, and that's why I'm playing against my world. I do think that, I mean, it's hard to judge his competition in depth. Obviously, there's a couple of Japanese horses in here that look pretty tough, but out of the American horses, I mean, Obliteration, I think, holds a pretty strong hand coming into this for a horse that's 8-1 on the morning line. And I mean, last time out at Oaklawn, he was very impressive. He got a 90 Beyer speed figure for his first start this year. He won by 7.5 lengths that day, and he beat a pretty nice horse in Dirty Rich, I thought. So it's not like he was beating a whole bunch of nothing horses in that race either. Granted, this is a big step up, but it is for a lot of these horses. They're all doing something they've never done. So I'm going to take a shot with Obliteration. He's also a horse that every time I see him, he looks so good that I always want to bet him. And I wasn't going to here because, you know, at first, it looked like he'd be a little bit up against it, but I was watching videos of him getting over the track and just galloping, and he looks like he's loving it. So he's very interesting at 8-1.
I think he's very interesting at 8-1. By the way, just to eliminate confusion, I just went and put the names of our top choices. It's just easier than trying to differentiate between post position and saddle numbers and just everything else. God bless European and international racing, but this is the one thing that drives me nuts regularly. When everybody's like, why is the number 4 going into the 12 starting gate? I'm like, listen, it's happening. All right. So just accept it. So Obliteration, I think, makes a ton of sense. And I think that, you know, certainly going to a mile shouldn't be an issue. And what was impressive to me last time out in the Renaissance at Oaklawn was the horse showed the ability to rate off the pace. Now, he was from an outside post position, was able to do that, but still, he didn't need to get to the lead. I love the fact he took a step forward as a 3-year-old in his first start. That 90 Beyer speed figure is a big number. Mm-hmm. And listen, if he takes to the track well, I don't see any reason why he can't be a really viable option. And I think a great price at 8-1, because I do think my world has a little bit of class to him, certainly in this race, and a horse that, you know, you could say really hasn't done much wrong in terms of my world being, you know, 3 for 4 in his career and has won 3 straight since breaking his maiden. So that's another, again, a nice horse there at 5-2. But again, Brad Cox has been a little cold on the Derby trail. I'm going to try to beat a 5-2 horse, especially in a 14 horse field filled with really young ascending horses. And, you know, so I have Obliteration second. Absolutely love this horse. My top choice is Satona Voyage. I am all in on the Japanese train yet again, rolling into Louisville this year. And one of the things that makes Satona Voyage a little bit different from some of the other previous Japanese runners is his pedigree. Very North American pedigree. This is an Into Mischief out of a Drosselmeyer mare. And there's actually a ton of turf pedigree. If you look on the dam side, there's a ton of turf pedigree and really good turf pedigree too. So it's not surprising they started him on the turf in Japan. And also we should say, horses in Japan go back and forth between surfaces a lot more regularly than they do here in the United States, where they usually are a specialist in one or the other. So I would not be shocked at all if this horse ends up running turf as he gets older over in Japan later on in his career. But Satona Voyage ran second in debut, switched to the dirt, has not lost since, won the Kariya last time out, which is the Kentucky Derby prep race in Japan. Now comes in here as their top contender, 7-2 in the morning line. Might end up be going off as your favorite. Depends how the money ends up playing out in this race. Always a lot of support for the Japanese. But I just thought a very impressive horse who's won very impressively, stretching out a little bit to a mile. But I don't think any reason he should not be able to take to it.
No, I don't think so either. I have him third here. I definitely think that he's a really tough horse. You bring up the American pedigree. Obviously, it's a horse that really took to the dirt when he switched over. I wouldn't make too much of it either. He has a
Yeah.
versatile pedigree, so they tried him out. And I mean, he's not only won, but he's been pretty dominant in all of his spots. So he'll be tough. I am going to take a shot with a homer and go with Obliteration just because he's a big price.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. That makes
that's
sense.
really it. But I am interested in your horse a lot, and I'll use him in a few different bets for sure.
By the way, Joe wants to make sure that you saw this comment. He said because he paid me a compliment, but he's paying you a compliment too. Because I was all over journalism, and you talked him off and on to sovereignty. You should have, Joe. I wish I would have done the same thing last year. I was all over journalism, but I didn't listen to her. I got stupid. I got bullheaded, and didn't listen. But he cashed some bets.
I'm glad you cashed.
So,
yeah,
exactly. So no, we love to see that. Acknowledge me, please. Billy Ho brings this horse up for Doug O'Neill coming over, and acknowledge me, please. Interesting horse, lot of speed, obviously, and faded a little bit in that San Vicente going 7 furlongs, but lost to So Happy, who I think is a pretty nice horse, and Butane, who we saw came back and ran, I believe, 3rd in the Southwest last weekend. I don't know. Does he just go straight to the front and wire the field? I'm not sure, because a lot of times some of these local horses from Saudi Arabia are rabbits out of the gate too, and they will go fast early. So I don't know if this horse necessarily can get to the lead, or if he does, that it's not going to be contested. And the fact he couldn't get the 7 furlongs in California makes me question whether he can get a mile out here. We'll see. I know he was a horse that was, both, I think you and Jackson Muniz, who joined us for a preview of that San Vicente, were a little bit interested in. He's a nice horse, but I just didn't think he was one that I was particularly interested in trying to take a shot at in this field of 10-1.
Yeah, for sure. And he's sired by Buchero. I mean, I don't like those horses at a mile distance. I think they're better sprinting. If you look at the numbers, they're better sprinting. I mean, it's a tall task for this horse. He has really good speed. Clearly, he seems a little distance limited. I know this is obviously like he could just get it on this track, and it's just one of those things. But like you said, there's going to be other speed present. I do wonder if he's going to try to get the lead. I'd imagine speed is in their favor, so that's probably what they're going to try to do with this horse. But I wasn't super interested in him. I don't think that he'll be able to get this distance going to another country. It's just a tall task for this horse, in my opinion.
It is a tall task for this horse. And Harry P, by the way, he's taking a shot with Cheyenne, or Shame. I pronounce it, perhaps Shame. 12-1 for Carl Burke, a horse trying the dirt for the first time. Very nice turf horse. And we should say we have a preview up of the Saudi Cup right now, up on NYRA Bets, with our good friend Carlos Morales from Ahantes 305, who's over there, and who we found out this morning has been to 6 Saudi Cups. It's wild. And one of the things he talked about was how well turf horses do over this track at Riyadh, because there's not a ton of kickback the way there is normally on a dirt course. And so turf horses, a la Misriff, winning the Saudi Cup several years ago, tend to do well. So a horse like Shame is not out of it by any stretch just because it's only a turf horse. Obviously, we'll have to see how the horse transitions and everything like that. But if you're going to make the transition from turf to dirt, this is the surface to do it on. And obviously, the horse has some class, winning some stakes races as a juvenile overseas. So, again, wide open field, a lot of interesting choices.
Definitely. Obviously, we just have our top pick here. And this is a horse that, I'm looking at more as we're talking, and is pretty interesting. The number 7 on the screen, Wonder Dean, that horse is 6-1 on the morning line, is going to be cutting back in distance. And a horse that ran second to Pyromancer, which I'm pretty sure is that nice Godolphin horse.
Yeah.
That's definitely worth noting. The number 7 Wonder Dean. I'm curious about that horse cutting back to a mile. I think he should run well.
That is, by the way, Pyromancer is the Godolphin horse you're thinking of. And I agree yes, that is absolutely a horse, Wonder Dean, who I took a long look at for Takayanagi. And that is a horse that I think is very interesting. And it's very notable that horse won going 9 furlongs already. A lot of foundation in that horse. Will have no problem getting the distance, cutting back a little bit. I thought very interesting as well.
I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, definitely like that horse. And another one we should mention is the number 2 Al Haram, who we both have in our top 4. We both like this horse, who is, as you see, the number 2 on your screen, and actually is the number 2 saddle pad as well. And this is a horse that is undefeated and coming off a win in the 2000 Guineas Saudi Derby, which is the qualifier for this, and not just coming off a win, won by over 7 lengths. This is a very talented horse who has the local advantage of having run over this track 3 times, going a mile every single time and winning every single time, and actually improving and expanding that margin of victory every single time. That's a serious horse at 6-1.
I thought so too. I don't have him on top, but like you said, I'm pretty sure we both have him in our top 4 here. He's a horse that just clearly really likes to win. Won the prep for this and already disposed of some competition in here too. So really interesting horse. I thought 6-1, pretty decent price, and a horse that, like you said, wins pretty dominantly. And some horses, I mean, once they're in a rhythm, he's clearly in pretty good form when he ends up in a spot like this. So one that I gave a really long look to for sure.
I think so as well. So it's going to be a fun race. I mean, and here's the crazy part is obviously we're used to, this is the race Forever Young won 2 years ago. And then obviously we're used to the Japanese horses using this as a stepping ground for the Kentucky Derby. So they win this, they go to the Derby. Luxor Cafe did this last year, goes to the Derby. What's interesting is it's been a minute since we've seen a North American horse go this route and end up in Louisville. So it's interesting if a horse like Obliteration wins this race, or My World, or even Kenny's horse, Very Connected.
I was thinking that it's interesting. Imagine, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no. So it's interesting if one of those horses wins this race. Do they decide, hey, let's go back and go on the Derby trail? I'd imagine Asmussen will keep Obliteration around 1 turn because I think that's probably what he does best. But I think either My World or Very Connected. Hey, I could see connections saying, all right, maybe we end up in Louisville now because of this. I don't know. It's interesting.
You brought up the last horse that I really want to bring up. That's a huge price. There's not much sense you can make out of this horse from a figures perspective. I know that. I know it's, he's a little overmatched here, but the number 12, Very Connected for Kenny McPeak, is 20-1. And that's just a horse that really caught my eye. The way he was moving over the track. He looks like he loves the track. So just interesting at 20-1, I thought.
Very notable, very interesting. Also interesting that Kenny tried that horse on the turf before at Kentucky Downs. When we talked about that turf to dirt transition and how turf horses sometimes can take well to the surface. Interesting to see a horse that has a little turf experience there. So that's going to be, it's going to be a fun race. I mean, 9 a.m. You know what I'm going to have? I'm going to have my Diet Mountain Dew ready. And that's what I'm going to be doing at 9 a.m. Having a bagel, Diet Mountain Dew, watching the Saudi Derby and getting ready to fire away bets all day, every day. Now, Kaylie, listen, that's our Derby preps, but we're not just going to talk about the Derby preps. We got to talk about the big one, the $20 million race, Forever Young, Nisos, Nevada Beach. You started this. If people were just tuning in now, you started this whole discussion by saying Bob Baffert said it's going to be King Kong versus Godzilla versus, in terms of Nisos versus Forever Young. All right. You got to pick a side, Kaylie. You got to pick a side. Who are you picking?
Nisos.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I'm gonna take a chance that Forever Young's not at 100%.
Yeah.
He could make mincemeat out of the competition, but I don't think so. I think Nisos could be a generational talent. Who knows? He's a really nice horse. And I think that this is the race that Baffert has been talking about for this horse literally since we knew of him.
Yeah.
So I put a lot of weight on that. Love the way he looks. Nisos is a fighter. I think we could see something big. I'm excited to see the two of them go head to head for sure.
I'm excited too. I'm very excited. I mean, this is a great showdown. $20 million purse. I believe $12 million goes to the winner. Forever Young's looking to make history, to become the first first horse to win this 2 consecutive years. And it would be amazing if he did this. This is a horse that I know I've drilled this stat and factoid home to people over the week. Forever Young has not run consecutive races in the same country since 2023. Since he was 2 years old. He has not run consecutive races in the same country since he was a juvenile. Hello, McFly. We can barely get horses in America to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. So this horse, he flies all over. He's got more frequent flyer miles than a businessman. He's upgrading to first class in every single flight. Forever Young, it's just, he is such a cool horse. I love him. He fights. I think the 1.125 is obviously no problem. He just won the Breeders' Cup Classic going 1.25 miles. He likes this surface. He won the Saudi Derby 2 years ago. He won the Saudi Cup last year. And Kaylie, what stuck out to me was I watched those replays. And wait, we can show them because I actually still have them here. The replay of the Saudi Cup from last year in particular. Kaylie, you don't win this race. Romantic Warrior gets the jump. He gets ahead of him. He goes by him. He's 2 lengths clear of him. 99% of North American races, when we watch this race is over. Mm-hmm. And Forever Young puts his head back down and says, I'm going to get to you. And that long home stretch, he just grinds away at these horses. It's just awesome.
It is awesome. I mean, Forever Young, obviously, he's a superstar. You said it. He's a world traveler. Everywhere he goes, he shows up. I can't wait to see him. And I'm rooting for him. You know, I'm rooting for him and Nisos. Like, I want them to run a nose apart or something. I think it's going to be a really big horse race, and this is a big matchup. I'm very excited to see these two horses face off. And Forever Young is going to be tough to beat, but hey, you have to take a shot here and there, you know?
Absolutely you do. And by the way, Nisos is literally a neck away from being undefeated. I mean, he lost that.
He's better than we know.
He lost that Churchill Downs Stakes off, I think, a 16-month layoff.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, yeah, a 16-month layoff. He came back, nearly won the Grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes over Mindframe, Banishing, him, and Bookham Danno. That was an incredible race. But you want to talk about guts, he's got plenty of guts, because here's the Lafitte Pinkai Jr. last time out. And yeah, he's the heavy favorite, but Nevada Beach, who's a stablemate who's running over there as well, they're duking it out, coming down the stretch as well. Nevada Beach on the outside, Nisos on the inside. And Nisos just like he did in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, just digs down and gets there at the wire. He's a grinder as well, and he's a tough horse.
He is a tough horse, both of those horses. I mean, Bob brought over 2 live horses. He made a joke saying that, you know, Nevada Beach is like the beer money horse, his beer money horse, and that Nisos is the horse. But he also said in the same breath that this was always the plan for Nisos, but the way that Nevada Beach ran, they thought, hey, might as well bring him over too, see what happens. Yeah. He can take a piece of a big purse. I think both of those horses are going to show up on Saturday, and I'd be really shocked if we didn't see a tote board that includes all 3 of those horses.
I would agree. It does certainly feel like the 3 of them are a little bit heads and shoulders above some others in this race. Obviously, you always want to take a swing at some prices when you get a big field like this, but those 3 are all so consistent, so versatile. And one of the things that is noteworthy, Nevada Beach, perfect 3 for 3 at 1 1/8 in his career. That's his distance. That's his sweet spot, I think, is at 9 furlongs. And according to all the people we've talked to, Carlos Morales talked to us about this today. He is floating over the track. And even Bob said he's taken to the surface over there beautifully. And so good to see, because, it's a deep track and it's a question mark. Not all horses like it. You brought that up with regards to McKenzie and others. So it's good to hear that Nevada Beach is going to run well. Hopefully, Bishop's Bay coming out of the Cigar Mile. Tumbarumba was a horse that Carlos mentioned. He said it looked really good. That's an interesting horse that's kind of on the come up. So it's going to be interesting to see for sure. I can't wait for this race. It's going to be so much fun on Saturday. And the great part is that race is going to be at 12:40 in the afternoon Eastern time. Then we got a whole day of race. Then we got the entire fairgrounds card.
I know it's going to be amazing. But someone told me, I think you're going to do a really big banishing exacta, right? Forever Young banishing.
I can never. By the way, the only thing, I'm just going to say it, the only thing I have a tougher time figuring out than whether banishing is going to run a big race or not, and that's, flip a freaking coin, is whether or not when one of Kenny's horses fires or not. I've never been on the right side. By the way, Universe is probably going to win by 10 lengths in the Risen Star because I hate him in this race. So that's usually when Kenny's horses run a massive effort and run some huge effort that I didn't see coming at all. His horse is probably going to win the freaking Saudi Derby now as a result. It's nuts.
In my opinion, I thought his horse looked like he was floating over that track.
I know, you really like you wrote to me about that.
I really was interested when I saw him in 20-1. And that's like a Kenny move, sending a horse somewhere because the horse is going to move up over a certain surface. Either it works out or it doesn't, but the horse looks pretty good. So excited to see him.
He does. By the way, our friend John O'Neill just joining the chat now. He's in Sarasota visiting friends. Even on vacation, people are tuning into the live stream. I love that. Enjoy Sarasota. Enjoy some more. We're heading to Tampa Bay Downs tomorrow for the first time. Oh, one of my favorite tracks. I love Tampa Bay Downs. Love that whole region. You can get from Tampa Bay Downs to the beach in 20 minutes. Fantastic.
Wow.
It's the best. It's the best.
I've never been to Tampa.
I love the Gulf Coast. We'll go down. We'll go down for the Tampa Bay Derby, or we'll do something fun. And so we'll go down for one of their races. So we'll have coverage at America's Day at the Races. So a little, I'm a company man, if nothing else. Give a little plug there to ATADR. And yeah, like I said, it's going to be fun. So much action. And listen, folks, before we leave, if you're not playing on NYRA Bets already, make sure to do so right away. Use the promo code LIVE20. You get a free $20 bet. It's just that simple. It's not complicated. Just use the promo code LIVE20. Go to racing.nyrabets.com/sign-up-bonus/live20. Go to that URL. Use the promo code LIVE20. You got a free $20 bet. Boom, right there. You go.
You have until about the Saudi Cup.
Yeah.
You have from now until Saudi Cup time.
There you go. From now till the Saudi Cup, you get to use this promo code. And it's just for you guys watching. Nobody else. Just for you guys watching. So use that promo code LIVE20 today. Kaylie, I don't even know. I don't want to end this. This is always so much fun talking about these races with you.
It is a lot of fun. Can't wait for Saturday. And we'll be back next week for next weekend. And
but listen, we got a lot of content in between now and then. Obviously, we have this. We have for people who don't already know, we have the Saudi Cup preview up on the channel, so make sure to check that out. Okay. I have a preview of the American Beauty Stakes taking place Friday at Oaklawn Park with Megan Burgess. Gonna have Capping the Card up where I go through all 12 races on Fairgrounds Risen Star Day card. That's going to be out tomorrow morning. With my top pick and top value play. Gonna have another video with myself and Megan that's dropping on Sunday morning that actually previews Mondays, the President's Days, Ozark Stakes, which is the return of Ewing, who beat Obliteration in the Saratoga Special. That's an interesting connection right there to this weekend. So that's going to be a big race. We're going to have our Derby and Oaks recap. We're going to do that. We're going to have the Win Play Show. We're going to have so much stuff it stinks. Bottom line is, if you like horse racing, you should be liking and subscribing to NYRA Bets YouTube, because we got so much coverage for you. Tracks across the country, tracks across the world. We got you covered. We're your one-stop shop for everything horse racing and handicapping on NYRA Bets. Kaylie, completely off-topic question. Monday's President's Day. Who's your favorite president? There you go.
Oh, that's like a loaded question.
Is it?
I don't know who's like the most unproblematic person I could say. You know.
It's funny. I put Megan Burgess on the spot on that question on the video that's going to come out Sunday. And she I could see she had the same thought process you did, where she was like, and she's like, Abraham Lincoln. And I was like, that's a good answer. I was like, that's
perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very funny to see that. And yeah, Sunland Derby. So the Sunland Derby is a Kentucky Derby prep race being run this Sunday for sure. I actually have a stat I want to share with everybody in that Sunland Derby. Okay. Because we didn't get to that one, but I do want to talk about it for a second. In the Sunland Derby, there is a horse, Bricklin, the number 6. Okay. The number 6, 7-2 on the morning line. I'm going to give you a statistic. Trainer Rudy Brissett, who I like, and by the way, I cashed on Bricklin in his last race, so I like this horse. Trainer Rudy Brissett over the last 5 years is, wait for it, folks, 0 for 33 switching 3-year-olds off Lasix. I will not be betting Bricklin. That is what I would advise people not to do.
Interesting stuff.
0 for 33 switching 3-year-olds off Lasix for Rudy Brissett over the last 5 years. Don't bet that horse. So listen, that's a pretty wide open race. It's going to be interesting. Express Kid coming out of a victory in the Springboard Mile. Interesting on the inside rail. A couple of interesting horses in that race. I don't know if anybody that we're really going to see much beyond this race, but Diodoro's horse ran a big number last time out. Sharon's Beach actually ran a big race against maiden optional claimers at Santa Anita for Jonathan Thomas last time out as 10-1. So there's a couple of interesting horses you might be able to go to in that race. But listen, going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to be covering all the races all weekend long. We're going to come back, recap all these races. So much fun. And again, Kaylie, thank you so much for joining me on this preview. Really appreciate it.
Every week.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. And we're going to take some side bets on all of this. Although now Strong and Neil is giving us a little bit. He goes, that sounds like the Plutarch stat. Okay, fair enough. Plutarch won. Plutarch, broke the curse for Bob last week for sure. But yeah. What did I?
It was silly because I never pay attention to those numbers with like my guy, like Mont and Baffert, Pletcher. Like I usually just throw any number out of the window. So I don't know why I did that. Like stats don't really matter with a guy like Bob Baffert.
Yeah. No, they don't. You're right. Bill Mott, Bob Baffert, Chad Brown, Todd Pletcher, they kind of know what they're doing. And so they tend to do pretty well. But what do I always say? The old Mark Twain line, there's 3 types of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. And I say that as a former quantitative methods political scientist who spent much of his career crunching numbers. And so you can make numbers say whatever you want them to say. And I always tell people to caution people against that. I can make DRF formulator say a lot of things if I wanted to. If I want to make a case for or against a horse, I can find a way to do it. So always be careful of that. But Kaylie, thank you again so much. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to press that like and subscribe button on NYRA Bets YouTube. And until next time, my name is Matthew DeSantis for Kaylie Shapiro, wishing you a great and prosperous day at the races. And reminding you, friends, it's now post time.